The day has come. It's unfortunately time to discuss what might be one of the worst movies of the last 25 years. We're going to wade through nonsensical plot, juvenile humor, obnoxious editing, and characters who never stop talking as we discuss Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
Who's in a great mood because we are working through the Transformers franchise. And today we are talking about Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. We're getting through them because there's a new one coming out in the near future, so we have to be all caught up so we can look at the new one. And we did the first one a couple months ago. You can go check that out. But the second one is the one that's notorious. That's the one with the reputation. Revenge of the Fallen is the one that people really hold up as the I don't know, what would you call it?
Oh, are you saying this is the worst one? Because I haven't seen anything past this movie.
I feel like it's got the worst. I would argue the fourth one might actually be worse. But
is it the one with dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it's the one with the laminated law that the guy keeps in his wallet. More on that when we get to the fourth one. It's also got Mark Wahlberg in it, which is like, you know.
I can handle Mark Wahlberg.
I'm not sure how I feel on that front, but this is going to be the second movie, Revenge of the Fallen. We'll start spoiler free, as if anyone gives a shit about spoilers for Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. But we will start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers, and we'll get into it. This is set 2 years after the first movie, which is also when it came out. It came out 2 years after the first one. The first one was out 2007 summer. This was summer 2009. I turned 20 probably just before this came out, and Sam's gone off to college, but the Decepticons are up to no good. They want to find a power source to do a thing, which is revealed throughout the film, and would you believe it, Sam gets wrapped up in all of it again, as does Michaela, and of course Sam's parents and their horny dogs. Two dogs now. They got two dogs. Only one dog in the last movie. They got two dogs. I feel like there's no point in beating around the bush. Tara, how did you feel about Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen?
Oh man, I hate this movie so much. It is so difficult to watch. It's nauseating. Like the way it's filmed is nauseating.
The camera never stops moving.
Oh my god, it's spinning. It's just spinning the whole time. It was so ill just watching it. Everyone's shouting. The colors are all off. Like they're oversaturated. So like, I feel like I'm in a hot sun and the room is spinning and everyone's yelling. And nothing is funny. It's just like, it's so irritating. It's just, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I can't believe I had to watch it again. I watched this in theaters when it came out because, you know, like I said, when we talked about the first Transformers, I kind of liked it when it came out. I saw it a couple of times. I was in the military when it came out, so I kind of had that like, ooh yeah attitude. I hate every time Josh Duhamel is on this shows up on screen because I know it's going to be the worst part of the film. I just hate this movie so much.
And you love terrible movies. This is mind-boggling.
This is not fun to watch. Like
no, it's not.
There's nothing enjoyable about this. No, I don't love terrible movies. I love movies that are accidentally amazing. There's a very clear difference.
It was one of the things you said there was like everything's overly saturated and it looks like they're in this hot sun all the time, and the movie starts off in California, at least with Sam's stuff, and it's like, okay, that's where they were in the last movie, and it makes some sense that it looks hot. But what really gets me about what you just said is that it still looks just as hot when he's apparently on, like, I think they're in like Philadelphia for college, and it's like the East Coast, and it just looks as sunny. It just looks like we're in like sweaty Miami heat the whole time for some reason, and I don't.
Yeah, this movie is like watching a hangover, like experiencing a hangover when you watch it. You know, like, everything is just so nauseating and miserable.
Yeah, everyone keeps shouting, especially Sam. There's just yelling constantly. There's lots of rapid fire characters who have to very quickly talk so they can quickly give you the shitty like stereotype character as humanly as possible. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have somehow new lows and characters in this, and a very degree. Like, Sam's got a roommate who's a character in this for some reason, even though he offers nothing to the plot and offers nothing in the way of an arc or anything throughout the movie. He's just there to be the victim or the perpetrator of some really dumb jokes. That's all he's there for.
I don't remember if like we noticed even his parents in the first film. Like, I think they were just background and they were fine. We're like, okay, like Sam's kind of neurotic because maybe his parents are kind of that way. Maybe there was some bad comic relief in it. But I think become full slapstick in this, and they're so stupid. Like, they're just stupid people. They're stupidly written. They act stupid. Everything is just awful about them.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, but the first thing you said there, I think you've got a really bad memory. We spent a lot of time talking about the parents in the last review.
Okay.
We definitely did.
Well, it's turned up to 11.
Oh no, it's definitely worse. Like, everything with the parents is just dumb jokes and just really obnoxious. Like, that's the word this movie's obnoxious. And the first one was pretty obnoxious, but this is just everything that was obnoxious in the first one is turned up to silly degrees. The plot makes less sense, right? It's nonsensical at points. Things just kind of happen. The problem in the first movie, we can barely see the action because everything's too overly complex and the editing's too quick. That's back in full force. It might even be worse.
Yeah.
You know, all these problems.
There's more like Autobots and Decepticons in this, where you have to keep track of. Or like, I think they turned up the colors a little bit more so that it's not just like gray metal on gray metal. But I still have a hard time with the Decepticons, like figuring out who I'm looking at.
Yeah, and there's also like, I feel like the Autobot characters in this get even less time and like time to like even just be recognizable in the first movie. Yeah. There's a moment towards the end. We're not gonna get spoilers or anything, but there's a moment at the end where there's a blue Autobot and like Ratchet or someone says, "Hey, Livewire, do a thing," and I'm like, was I supposed to know who this Autobot was? Because I feel like I've not seen him the entire movie, and all of a sudden he's a named character and he's doing something important right at the end. The only other ones they introduce really are Sideswipe, who is a silver car, so he blends in with the villains a lot, which is it's hard to recognize. And they do their first take, and I say first take because I want to say Bumblebee did like a new version of this, or there's going to be a new version in the new movie. I'm sure they've redone this, but you get the one female Autobot, the motorbike, but here she's 3 motorbikes, and she like has hologram people on her. Which, I mean, they established that in the first movie that the cars could project holograms so that it looked like there was a driver, but neither of these characters really do anything. They're not characters, really. They're a name that shows up in a couple of action scenes. That's basically all they are. And then the other big problem I have with the first one is just everything with the military is just so shoehorned in. And I felt it even worse here, where there's montages of all the jets taking off and like, oh, hoorah, it's time to go, boys. And all I can think is, no one watching a Transformers movie gives a flying shit about the military's involvement in any of this.
The only thing I can think of is that, well, first of all, Michael Bay loves the American military. Like, he is very much up. Yeah, you know what I mean.
He likes the military, and he likes hot babes, and he likes to jack off to both of them in these movies.
And I mean, that's why I think everything also looks kind of like you're in a desert all the time. I mean, we do get to a desert eventually, but like everything, like even Philadelphia or whatever, looks like they're in the hot sun of a desert, because I mean, at the time, that's where that's where all our troops were. They're all fighting in the desert somewhere, you know. So it seems like it's a recruitment thing to make it look cool. Like, isn't it cool, like being in the desert and the American flag and American exceptionalism and hoorah, rah rah rah, and join up now, be exceptional.
It's so weird about it as well is that he clearly loves the military. But there's like a government stooge character in this that's meant to be like an unlikable character. And what caught me off guard about this guy, obviously he's not a good character and he's just kind of there to be this antagonist to the military characters, and he's trying to like take over and get in the way, and he's just kind of treated as a bad joke by the end. But what stuck out to me is that they did actually name drop that the president was Obama in this. So I couldn't help but feel that because he specifically goes out, he was basically the president put him here and he's getting in the way of everything. I was wondering if a little bit of Michael Bay's politics were kind of sneaking in here. Maybe he's a bit more Republican than Democrat, because it felt like he was.
I mean, I think so, but it's not like Obama really did anything to stop the war in Iraq. Or Afghanistan or anything like that. You know, like he was still part of all of that.
No. I'm not saying that he's saying anything specific about anything that was done in that time. I'm just saying he's showing that he doesn't like Obama. That's what I'm saying. I think he's trying to make it look like Obama's made this idiot put in charge.
This is the Ghostbusters moment where they're like, hey, we've got, you know, the villain is not the ghost, but actually it's the EPA coming in to get in the way of the working class, just trying to start a small business.
Yeah, but at least Walter Peck was a fun character. You know, he was fun to dislike. You know?
I honestly think that might have been some inspiration for this one, though, because they were kind of going for a Walter Peck angle with him, and making him just the butt of a joke, even though he's trying to like lay down the rules and stuff, and everyone's skirting around it.
Everything in this movie, though, it's basically forgotten about after a certain point, because it's a 2.5-hour movie that's filled with so much stuff that it doesn't have time to develop any of its ideas in any meaningful way. And then the other big problem is, and you said this right before we started, that you could barely remember most of the last hour. There's like oh
my god! I had to read the plot. Honestly,
there's like
just to make sure I got it.
40-minute chunk towards the end of this movie where there's all this questing in Egypt, and we have to get to this location, we have to get to that location, then there's action going on. And it just goes on and on. And I checked the time at one point. I'm like, how is there 40 minutes left of this movie? How is it possible? And somehow there is, and they find a way. And it's not like there's a lot of epilogue stuff either. Like, it actually ends quite quickly once the battle's done, but there's just so much of it. It's just excess. Just nothing but excess, and not fun to watch excess.
Everything's cut so quickly. Like, we go from place to place to place, and the scenes go quickly. Everyone's talking super fast. The jokes are a million miles an hour. And it never takes a break. Everything is so fast. Even the first Transformers, like when Optimus Prime like has a moment to make a speech, it's actually kind of a good scene, you know. Like it's the moment when we're both like, okay, this parts of this works and like could work in a film, but there's just too much of this extreme, you know. It's like. Maybe it was Black Hawk Down. I think that was the influence here. I mean, Black Hawk Down, maybe a little bit Ghostbusters, and a whole lot of American exceptionalism in our military. But like, it kind of feels like that. Like he wants to make a war movie, but like even the stuff in California is a war, and the stuff between the family and in his college dorm room is like a war scene. They're like, can we just hit the brakes a little bit? Come on.
Yeah, the pacing's awful, and it's because normally when you say pacing's bad, you usually mean it's too slow. This is the absolute polar opposite of that. This is everything has to be happening. Everyone has to be like yelling and talking constantly. Like, you know, when he first meets his roommate character, and he just starts fast talking about how he's this conspiracy nut with a website that's talking about the aliens and stuff, and he's like, I got kitten calendars. You got to like be a capitalist, bro. Kitten calendars, and he's like slap, and I'm like, what is this character? What are you? This is just annoying. Stop. Shut up. Be quiet.
He's going just as fast as Shia LaBeouf, so it's like you gotta have. Do we really need two LaBeoufs?
And like you said, it cuts around so quick. There's like moments where it'll cut to like I can't remember exactly where it is in the movie, but like obviously it's cutting to Glenn Morshower, who's like this general dude who's calling a lot of shots, right? Back at like some military base, and there's a couple of scenes where it'll cut to like some planes doing some stuff and like prepping, and then it'll cut to him, and it'll cut to a satellite, and it'll cut back to him, and he's like, yeah, okay, we're ready to move in, make sure the boys are ready, and that's it. That's the end of the scene. And just from like a movie making perspective, I'm like, you've just burned like 4 locations in the span of like 12 seconds, and I can't imagine the headache of like scheduling, editing, and just all these little snippets that are all over the place, just like, and it's not fun to watch. It'd be one thing if it actually created a coherent whole where I'm like, you know, into it. It doesn't. It just feels so erratic and scattershot.
Yeah, I mean, I know they jump around from so many places, and I'm like, okay, there's somewhere in the Middle East now, there's somewhere in Africa, there's somewhere in an ocean. Okay, we're in California, we're in Philly. Like, Are we back in Antarctic? I don't even know. Like, oh, we go to the Smithsonian at one point. Like,
yeah, we're in Washington for a bit. Yeah. And then the other thing, of course, which was something I critiqued in the first movie, but I think is even more of a problem here, is why is Sam the chosen one? I don't like. Like, obviously there's a reason why the Decepticons want to get at him at past a certain point, which is fine, you've set that up, but Optimus Prime at one point early in this movie comes to Sam and says, hey Sam, the president and the higher ups are deciding if they want our help or what to like kick us out of the planet. You need to go talk to them. I'm like,
who do you think to be our voice?
Yeah.
Like, what? Why?
Who do you think Sam is? Sam's not got sway with the president, you big blue and red tit.
What is that scene is so confusing. He's like, you're the one guy we know. Like, that doesn't have to be the case.
Yeah,
you've made yourself known to the government and you're working with the military. Like, there are plenty of routes you could take.
And there's a line towards the end, I won't give the context for it because it's, you know, the context is very spoilery, but like another good like Autobot style character says to Sam, you have shown courage and the capabilities of leadership, and I'm like, he's nothing but a whiny little bitch. Like, all he does is yell and run and like get mad when he's not getting his way. He's so insufferable and unlikable.
Yeah. And for some reason, Megan Fox is still with him.
Oh, even though he's just constantly kind of awful to her, it's
from the beginning, yeah. Even in the first movie, he was kind of awful to her, but we just sort of, you know, dealt with it for the sake of the story, I guess. But like, there's no reason. Like, she should have been the hero of that movie, right? Of the first film.
Yes.
In this movie, I don't know what she's even doing here still.
Yeah, she's around because they want, you know, the hot chick back, and there's a lot of comments.
They want hot pants.
Yeah, and there's a lot of comments about her hotness, and there's, you know, the opening shot of her is her.
Why are Transformers attracted to human women?
It doesn't make any sense. But the opening shot of her is her bent over a bike, and the camera, like, you know, slowly coming in, looking at her ass.
The same shot from the first film too.
No, this is from this one. This wasn't in the first one.
The first one, she was bent over a car, I guess.
Yeah, but that wasn't the first shot though. We'd already seen her like a couple of times by that point.
Okay, all right.
This is literally the first time you see her in this movie. She's like detailing the bike, and like Sam's calling her, and the camera's coming in, and
yeah.
All right. And it's notable because this is the scene that there's like a famous clip of her being interviewed, and like the guy's like trying to flirt with her, and he's saying how great this opening shot is. Oh, you're so talented. And she's like, I was bending over. Anyone can do that. Like, there's no skill involved in this. I like, once again though, she actually does more proactive things than Sam does in a way. You know, which we'll get into. She
somehow gets from California to Philly in like an hour.
Yeah. I'm hopping on a plane now. I'll be there in a few hours. Yeah, that did feel a bit quick. Yeah. So, I mean, is there anything else? There's major stupid plot things that I can't talk about yet, but there's just be known there is like weird, wild swings in this plot that are just made out of convenience and laziness, and we've not even mentioned the two like racist robots yet.
Yeah.
The stereotypes, and the like, one's got like a gold tooth even, and like it really
I just
bad.
hate them. I hate them so much. I don't want them to exist. I want them out of my brain.
Yeah.
Can we not talk about them?
Well, they basically do nothing. Like the only meaningful contribution they have is like near the end of the movie, they start bickering and fighting, and they hit the wall, and it reveals something, and that is the entire. Like, that's all they provide this movie is the reveal of something's behind the wall at some point. That's it.
It could have been anything. It could have been the other little Decepticon that was with them.
Yeah, like, you could have done this with anything. So I think we'll just give the spoiler warning. We'll start going through it because there's a lot to talk about. And
let me ask you something. Have you watched the Transformers cartoons? Did you watch them when you were young?
I saw a little bit. I wasn't like, it wasn't like Turtles or Scooby-Doo or anything like that, but I did see.
You're not like, ooh, wheelie or something.
No. I like, I'd seen maybe a few episodes. I maybe saw the animated movie when I was a kid, but it was never
Okay.
like my main thing. I think it was just slightly before my time when I was a kid.
Okay. Yeah, my brother was into them, and I know I watched them when I was very, very young because of that. But like, I never. Before this, I knew Megatron, and maybe that's it. I don't even know if I knew Optimus Prime, but like Megatron was a cool name, so I think I knew that.
Yeah, no, I was a Turtles, Power Rangers kid, so yeah, So the movie begins with with a flashback as Optimus is talking about how our kind and their kind have met before, and there's some like glimpses of this past of what a character that turns out to be the Fallen. I think it's almost like a twist they wanted, where you think Revenge of the Fallen just means Megatron's coming back for revenge, but no, there's actually a guy named the Fallen who's also wants revenge, funnily enough. But voiced by Tony Todd. But
great to hear his voice.
Yes.
Sorry he had to be in this piece of trash.
Yeah, well, the next one's got Leonard Nimoy, so you brace yourself.
I swore I would never watch them.
Well, here we are. So I'm trying to, right, so the actual proper opening though is in Shanghai, and it's basically, it sets up that the military dudes are in a group called Nest now, right? So you've got Lennox, who's Josh Duhamel, and Tyrese Gibson, who's Epps, right? Those are the two main dudes that we sort of saw in the military. I didn't like any of their stuff in the first movie. It felt so tacked on and just bloated the film. Here, at least, it's more tied to the Autobots, but I mean, it's still like all of their battle scenes and stuff aren't good. Like, it's not, it's not a vital part of the movie, but it's not as like just shoehorned in, I guess. But that's maybe just because they're already established from the previous movie. But they're hunting down just random Decepticons that are hiding on Earth. That's what they've been doing for the last 2 years, and they're in Shanghai. And we get introduced to the racist twin robots. We get introduced to RC. We get introduced to Sideswipe. Sideswipe specifically though, when they introduce him, he's chasing the Decepticon who's also a silver car. So I actually had a hard time like why did you pick the two of the same color? Like you couldn't have made Sideswipe a different, I don't know, it's simple basics is all I'm saying. The one moment that I will argue that I kind of like in the whole movie, and part of it's just because the camera pulls back to actually enjoy how cool the thing is that's happening, is Optimus Prime dropping out of a plane, parachuting, and then sort of rolling into truck form again. Mm-hmm. That actually looks alright, and part of it's because it continues one shot, it pulls back, and you see him roll into truck form.
You could see all the parts like moving and pop into place, which is the stuff we liked in the first movie. Although I remember you saying that you didn't really think it was as clear as to where parts were going and like. Oh no, like that, but
it still isn't. But at least here, it was a kind of a cool motion. And this
it was like, remember why you're here. To see this. Things transform.
The music's doing the main theme, and
we still have the great voice.
Yeah, our hero Optimus Prime is here, and this is basically the end of all my positive points. I don't have any more. So
I mean, John Turturro is giving it his all again, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're not getting to him for a while though. He doesn't show up till like an hour into this movie, maybe even later than that. So
yeah, I agree that scene is cool, and it's. I remember thinking like, oh, I'm glad they like took their time. Like he's really making an entrance.
Yeah.
Like not just falling from the sky, but like watch me transform, and how cool and intimidating and powerful this moment is. Because I also like it when they transform really quickly, but he like purposely does it slow to make a statement, and I like that.
Yeah. I think, unsurprisingly, any moments you eke any enjoyment out of this is probably just Optimus Prime moments where he's just doing heroic things, like those small snippets. And there's not a lot of them, but those small snippets are probably the only time you do get anything out of it. But yeah, so he literally is like, Autobots, I'm in pursuit, as he's like, rolling into truck form. And it's all very delightful. But he takes down the Decepticon quite quickly. It's over, and we cut from honestly like a surprisingly dark ending to this scene, where like the Decepticon's like dying, he's lying there, and he's like, the fallen will rise, and Optimus Prime just picks up his cannon and goes, not today, and just shoots him in the head. It's actually kind of dark. A dark moment.
Super dark. I know. I thought that too.
Okay.
It's because he's been working with the American military.
Yeah. He's lost all his humanity.
You just kill him, right?
I mean, hell's even a line later where the Walter Peck character is like, soldier, you're paid to shoot, not talk, and he's like, don't tempt me.
I actually didn't hate the idea of like, because Optimus is narrating the opening of how like humans and Autobots have met before or whatever, and it was and it showed like an ancient civilization, or not even civilization, like somewhere in ancient Africa where people
Egypt.
were just, it was Egypt for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, Africa. So it was like, I don't hate the idea of like humans and the Autobots like evolving, so like they give us technology, which is why our technology kind of looks like them and stuff like that over time. Like they keep coming back and giving us a little bit of their technology, or their technology kind of inspires us or something like that. I don't hate that device for the storytelling, but I feel like it just was sort of, it went a direction that I just wasn't really expecting. I didn't quite really remember the film from when I watched it in the theater, but is this what this is about? Like, because that's kind of cool if you want to do that story.
No, it's just a big world killer device. It's the third act of any big budget movie where there's no giant blue beam of light, but I feel like if it finished turning on, there probably would have been.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, we cut from Optimus Prime doing this dark like kill shot moment, and what do we cut to? We cut to the two dogs at the Wiki house. They've got a second dog now, and there's humping, and it's like, Frankie, don't dominate, whatever the other dog's name was, but that's your joke. And from here, like, yeah, you feel
it's so funny. They do it all the time.
What gets me is just how quick talking like all of this is, where they're trying to create this feeling that he's going off to college, they're helping him pack, they're going to be driving him there soon, which, and I assume they drove them there because like they're with them when they arrive, but now I'm thinking about it, wouldn't they just take him to the airport? Since I guess they were driving.
I mean, they could have made a road trip out of it.
Yeah, they could have done, yeah, but we never see any of that, so it just cuts to them arriving. It's like it's like they went to university, like, you know, an hour away. That's what it feels like with the way it just cuts to them arriving like a little bit later. But anyway, but they're talking so fast, and like the mum's crying, she's holding up his little baby booties, and Michael Bay clearly thinks this word is funny because he's like, oh, you little baby booties, and she's crying and she's wanting to hug and kiss him.
Booty, like butt.
Yeah.
Like the shot of Megan Fox and her end. It's a booty.
She's got booty, yes.
Yeah.
The dad wants to turn his room into a home theater, and then there's like it's funny when parents are like implying there's like a sexual thing going on, because he calls her young lady and she's like, oh, I like when you call me that, like sir, or something like that. And it's just, do you know what this is? It's repeating that moment in the last movie where he got embarrassed because they were talking about masturbating. Like that's what this moment is again. He's getting embarrassed because they're talking about sex, or they're role playing a little bit.
I just hate this movie so much. It is so annoying. Like I just the idea of like, isn't it hilarious if the mom is crying but she's also talking a million miles an hour, she's just shoving like things in his face and therefore our faces, and the dad's like flirting, and the mom especially is just so nauseating in this, and I'm sure she's a delightful woman and a decent actress outside of the Transformers films, but like, oh my god, she is unbelievably difficult to listen to in this movie.
Yeah, from here, the inciting incident for the plot, or at least the plot that brings Sam involvement into it, is that he's still got his hoodie from the end of the last movie, and there's a little shard of the Allspark in it, which he touches, which puts like alien code into his head. Like that's literally what kickstarts this plot, is him just touching something.
Yeah. I don't mind the idea that like it triggers all the electronics in his home to like come alive and turn into little mini transformers. I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. It's like a metal gremlins almost or something, you know. Like you could have done more with that.
The Hoover transforming did look kind of neat actually, because it was one of those like Dyson looking ones with the it, almost like it's got like a gun chamber, right? That's but it's orange, and they started firing things out of it.
It looked like it happened in the kitchen where there's a lot of electronics. There's like a clock on the wall just suddenly like turns into like a spider thing, and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I don't mind this, but the movie sucks. So
yeah.
Like,
well, they're all ducking for cover. The house is getting wrecked, and Sam's like,
it's super annoying.
Sam's
it's
like,
not shot well at all.
Bumblebee, and then Bumblebee comes, going out and cannons the house.
And can't speak again. Is there a reason why he can't speak? I don't know if I missed it.
Because they realized that the gimmick of him using movie clips to talk was something they liked and the audiences liked, so they decided...
Is there an in-universe reason?
Well,
it's very clear why he's not speaking.
Well, Megan Fox says, oh, is your voice acting up again? And that's it. That's all we get. It's just not working.
Okay.
That's all you get. And Sam, for some reason, Sam's like... So first of all, is this like a thing? Because he says that there's a rule at his college that freshmen aren't allowed to have cars. This sounds like the most made-up, stupid thing I've ever heard in my life.
I have no idea. Well, I went to college as like... when did I go to college? I was 25. So I didn't stay in a dorm. I had like an apartment I lived in.
It sounds ludicrous. And even if that's true, like he comes in and we do the whole kind of like, Bumblebee, you're not coming with me to college, and Bumblebee's getting sad and he's like crying, and all I'm thinking is like, that's like the last movie, much like he's voiced and just retconning that. The last movie ended with the, oh, I want to stay with the boy, and then Sam's like, yeah, we're best friends forever. And we cut to the immediate start of this film, and I know it's been 2 years, but it is sort of whiplash for the audience when you end one movie with something and then you immediately say, no, that's not the thing anymore. Let's start the next one.
Just go, like throwing rocks at him kind of deal. Like, just go. I don't love you anymore.
Yeah. And
it is whiplash, though. You're right. It's like, well, why? Like, you guys saved the universe together.
Yeah. And for some reason he thinks like, you can't come because I want to be normal, and I'm like, he can still just be a car the whole time. He doesn't have to be walking around like Bumblebee. He seems quite comfortable in car form. I don't.
He did it before he met you.
And then like, apparently it's a surprise that Megan Fox is wearing a dress, so we have to get a scene of her undressing out of the tight leather outfit to reveal the skimpy white dress.
Whatever.
And
I mean, maybe I shouldn't feel bad for celebrities, but I do feel bad for the way Megan Fox is treated in like these movies and like just in Hollywood in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like,
no, I get it.
It just makes me mad to see scenes like that.
Well, she
has been more outspoken about it like later on.
This starts the arc for them as a couple, which is that she wants him to say I love you, and he for some reason is allergic to doing that and can't say it, and he's
afraid if he says it that she'll be bored with him because she's not waiting for him to say it.
That's such movie logic. It's so stupid.
He's just a bad boyfriend.
Oh, he's a terrible boyfriend. He's a terrible human being. Never mind boyfriend. But yeah, but even when they talk about it here, he's basically like, you say it first, and it's like, wait, what? Like, yeah. You realize that talking about it like this is kind of sucking the romance out of the moment of actually saying it. If you're like, no, you say it first. Like, I can't say it first. Like, I don't know. I just, again, shitty romance that feels...
It's just not written like real people.
No, it's not. I mean, no one speaks like a real person in this, but more on that as we go. So this is her saying goodbye, and he goes off. But he's got our webcam, so they can Skype while he's away. Got a long distance relationship kit up and running or some shit. What she then misses their first date. And here's the thing. What I assumed was going to happen watching this, because he meets his roommate. We'll go back and talk about his arrival, but he meets his roommate, and his roommate, let's go to this party, and this party of course has like this insane lighting fixture that no college party would have. It's like a dance club in a dorm room. But he takes them to this thing, and Sam says before they go in, "Oh, I can't stay too long. I've got a computer date, right, with my girlfriend." And it's like, okay. But then it cuts to her, and she's already sitting there setting up the camera, and it's like, you're already late though. Like, what I thought was going to happen is that, oh, you're going to get sidetracked and something's going to stop you from getting back.
Drink or something, yeah.
But nothing did. He was just already late, and she was already sitting there feeling sad because he wasn't around.
Maybe it was just an editing mistake for that. But yeah, it seemed like he really didn't plan this very well. If he wants to keep Megan Fox, which he absolutely should try harder.
Yes. I mean, his arrival, his roommate, we've already spoken that he's annoying and he's fast talking and all the rest of it. There's a couple of just, shots of like him gawking at women coming out of the bathroom and talking about how his website's got like a top 55 hot chicks on campus thing or something.
Yeah, maybe they're doing like a Mark Zuckerberg hot or not thing website. He's actually a brilliant mind, but like
there is nothing brilliant about Leo.
That's his name? I forgot.
I only remember because he said it a bunch towards the end. I didn't catch it early on, but yeah, his name is Leo.
Oh boy.
Leo Spitz.
Okay.
According to IMDb.
He looks like a Spitz.
Yeah, so the gag though when Sam arrives at college is that his parents are embarrassing him by being around, and that his mother eats some pot brownies and starts just doing more embarrassing things. This was painful. Yeah. This 10-minute portion of the movie was excruciatingly painful to get through.
This was like watching Reefer Madness too. It's like, oh, if you eat pot brownies, you'll just start saying embarrassing things about your family and really fast, and like it's like watching Reefer Madness, where like if you smoke the reefer, then like you're gonna get insane and you're gonna go crazy and you're gonna talk real fast and everything's gonna go real fast and you don't know how you got there. I'm like, it's supposed works.
It's supposed to be funny that she's just telling random strangers on campus that she heard him lose his virginity. That is the height of the gag.
Yeah, that's what happens when people eat pot. It's so stupid.
So, which leads me to something I might even hate more, actually. And I don't know if it's necessarily because it's worse, but it's like at this point it was just like thing after thing that's bad. That when we cut to his like first class and it's Rainn Wilson doing all the girls in the audience think I'm a hot professor, so I'm going to be suave and wink at them, and he's using all these like sexual terminologies to teach his class or something, like all this innuendo, and it's really uncomfortable and weird and like not funny. He's a predator. I mean, let's face it. I mean, the girls seem to be into it, but that's only because an idiot wrote this and wanted it to seem like... Basically, they're going for that scene from Indiana Jones, right? Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the girls actually get a crush on them. And arguably, even that's a bit over the top for what it is, but it's obviously way more restrained than this, where the girls are like sort of like staring at him. There's a big difference between Rainn Wilson and Harrison Ford, let's be real. I mean, yes, obviously. Obviously. But, he takes a bite out of an apple to, like, make a point about gravity, and it falls in front of one of the girls, and she picks it up and says, "Thank you." She, whispers it all sexy, and he's like, "Finish that for me." And it's like, what? What is this scene? And then Sam's brain starts, like, going ultra because he's got all this code in his head, and he starts, like, yelling about how Einstein was wrong, and starts writing on the board and talking about shit. The plot's just... And all throughout this, we've not even mentioned this, and this is one of the biggest things that really annoy me about the writing of this movie. So, introduced around all this section, right, while he's moving in, and then at the party, and then just after this, is the potential, like, other love interest, right? The threat to Megan Fox, this blonde chick. Mm-hmm. And she's very intense. She's really making the moves. She thinks Sam apparently is all that, and she's sort of instantly attracted to him. She is forcing herself on him like there's no tomorrow, and obviously this all builds up to he calls Michaela. Michaela comes to like does Decepticon stuff going on? And she's like witnessed this, and she's captured the small Decepticon who was trying to steal the shard. So she's on her way to come see him, and she gets there in like an hour, like we mentioned. And she walks in. It's all set up so that she walks in as this, the evil chick is on top of Sam kissing him.
She's pulling a Michaela, right? She's bent over, showing her butt. Only there's a scorpion tail that comes out of it.
Which is annoying because it's this contrived, love triangle bullshit. It doesn't help, of course, that Sam's unlikable and seemed to be,
insane
and into it. But the big reveal here, though, is that this chick is not a chick. She's a Decepticon. And can I just pause here for a second?
Yes, you may.
Is this not a huge deal that should be a huge plot point that Decepticons can pass for freaking human
when
beings?
When I first saw the movie, I was just like, wait, they could just pass as humans and so we can just have a species. This is like Terminator 3. Oh.
It is. This is the Terminatrix, basically, and this should be a big deal that they can do this. You think
the military should know about this?
You'd think this would be like a big plot point for later in the movie, but it never comes up again. In fact, not only that, as far as I know, I've not seen the fifth one. I don't think it comes up again in the following movies either. This is just a throwaway thing in this one.
Is this a thing that was in the cartoons also? Do they eventually just become humans? Do they just look human?
I don't think so, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't see that much of it.
It seems like a really big deal.
It's a huge deal. That has so many implications that they can disguise as a living creature, right? That is a big difference between disguising yourself, because the whole thing with Transformers is they can disguise themselves as vehicles, or if they're smaller, as electrical items.
Yeah, well, I remember the Beast one also, and which is what the next movie is going to be. But they still look like metal. They look like metal versions of it. They didn't look like animals. They just had the shape of them.
Yeah, same with the dinosaurs in the fourth one. They're dinosaur shaped, but they're still made of metal. They're still robotic looking. This is absolutely nuts that they just threw this out there like this and then do nothing with it after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild.
I think this is around the point of the movie where when I watched it the first time in theaters, where this is like the last moment that I remember, because I think I completely checked out after this happened, and I was like, we're not going to acknowledge this. Like, that's I was so turned off by the whole first part of that film anyway, and by this moment I was like, oh, this movie's not coming back, and there's still like 2 hours to go. And I'm going to hate it. Like, I know there's no coming back from this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And because this is the point where everything just starts being constant action. Because this is, she starts chasing after them into the library. The roommate's there as well. He's constantly yelling stupid shit. Michaela and Sam basically spend the next half hour of the movie, anytime they're talking, just sniping at each other about what's happening. There's a whole thing when they're trying to be quiet in the library, and she's like, "Oh, you're unfaithful, blah blah," and he's like, "I wasn't unfaithful. She was like a truck, a big metal bear, forcing it on me. I was a victim," and it's all played for
just like Diesel or something. Yeah. I don't know.
It's all played for just awkward, weird laughs, and it just, I don't know. All of it just feels like it comes from a mind where the sense of humor is just so warped and childish, and man, watching this when you're an adult is I'm sure if you watch this when you're 12, it probably works to some extent.
Can we just rate it now? I'm feeling so upset talking about it. I just hate my experience watching this.
We have to keep going, Tara. We have to keep going. Just listen to me and relax your sphincter.
Oh my god.
That's a line from later on. Just in case anyone thinks I'm being weird, that is a line from later on in the movie. What has John Turturro come to?
All right, let's pretend we're in a Michael Bay movie and talk really, really fast. So it gets over soon.
Oh dear, yeah, and obviously around here, I guess after the party scene where Bumblebee shows up and takes Sam to Optimus, where Optimus is like, "You must talk to the president first," and I'm like, Optimus, he's just some idiot kid. He can't talk to the president, right?
Yes. We're all glad that he saved your life in the last film, but you owe him nothing.
Yeah, the scene, the end of this scene is like Sam basically says no one goes away, and Optimus turns and goes, "We need you more than you could ever know, Sam." And I'm like, whoa, how? Why? Wait, what are you talking about? So they're being chased. Decepticons are showing up. They're coming after Sam. Eventually, Megatron's there because they do a whole thing. I think it's the helicopter one that actually picks up the car they're in when they're trying to drive away. And
Megatron is back, even though he was dead. And
there's
in the middle of the ocean somewhere, and with the Navy guards, he's still
this is the thing.
Came back.
The movie jumps around so much that we didn't even like. It's easier to just slot it in now. There's a whole scene where they go to the bottom of the ocean to pick him up, and they go to like a secret military site to steal a shard of the Allspark to bring him back to life. These are all things we see, including one Transformer or one Decepticon that's like a lot of little balls that then forms into like a really thin, like, infiltration Decepticon, I guess.
I don't know. I know one of them has to die to sacrifice his parts to give to Megatron so they can come back.
Which, I mean, I'll give them credit. This is setting something up because they're going to do it again later. Yeah. So, fair enough. Admittedly, this scene takes place at the bottom of the ocean, so I couldn't even tell which one was being sacrificed. I had no idea who was who. For all I knew, Starscream was getting sacrificed, even though he's like the most known Decepticon outside of Megatron.
I thought he died like twice in this film.
No, but he's there at the end because he's like, Megatron, we should retreat.
Yeah, I know. I thought he was dead like more than once in this film, and not even at this part.
So Megatron's got Sam, and I'm going to extract this from your brain. There's a little Decepticon that goes into his head, and like, we get a lot of sort of gross out stuff with like tentacles coming out of his nose.
It seems like they're trying to do like the. It looks like the bug, right, from the Matrix that goes into the belly button. It looks like that, but he's going into like the brain and stuff like that, or whatever.
Yeah. And of course, the Autobots show up and start saving the day. So, think here, what's interesting, so there was a Linkin Park song at the end of the last movie. This movie is the song that came with New Divide, which is a pretty good song, if you like that kind of music.
Yeah, it's of its time, it's fine.
Yeah. But what's interesting here, and I'm mentioning it here because it's in this scene, is there's actually kind of an orchestral version of it that's also in the score. So they actually incorporated it into the soundtrack in like a really sort of specific way. So, yeah, just thought I'd mention that.
I mean, honestly, like I'm not bothered by the score too much. There's a lot of the familiar beats that I remember from the first film, and then I don't hate the music choices. Sometimes because the movie's so fast paced and actiony, having an additional like rock borderline metal song is a bit much also, but I understand why it's there. Like if you're into that, then you'll probably enjoy the soundtrack, but I don't know.
I don't really care much about the soundtrack. The score's not.
Everything was loud.
The score's not bad though. The score's fine. The score is probably the best thing about the entire series. Really, it's the one thing that's kind of consistent.
I mean, the sound design also gets praised for a reason. We'll probably tire of it, but like,
yeah,
yeah.
So they all get split up here. Like Bumblebee has Michaela and the roommate, and the other Autobots are kind of with him. So Optimus, for some reason, ends up on his own with Sam and sort of drives him off, and they end up in a forest, and like he's like, Sam, hide, and like it ends up being like Megatron, Starscream, and like, the big helicopter one who eventually Optimus is going to kill. And again, if there's like a small slither of a moment you might enjoy, it's maybe Optimus saying, you know what, screw this, I'm going to fight you all, and the music kicks in and he starts, fighting them, right? On its own in a vacuum, alright moment, you can kind of tell what the mainly because it's one of the few times in the whole movie where you can kind of see what the choreography of the fight is, because you can sort of see him like, jumping over one and slashing. But the big thing here though is it ends with Optimus getting stabbed through the heart from behind. Megatron kills him, and it's this sad moment, and it's one of those things where this reminds me a lot of Batman v Superman, which shield your ears if you don't want spoilers for Batman v Superman. But much like that,
don't watch it anyway.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's terrible. But this feels a lot like the death of Superman in that movie to me, where I'm like, this is only the second movie, and we're going to do the death. Like this
Not
is
buying it.
I know. This is at least a third movie thing. Yeah.
And plus it's odd that they would want to do that in like the beginning of the film when, first of all, we know, okay, he's gonna come back, but also like the death of Megatron is something that traumatized kids from the animated movie. Not myself. I actually don't even remember it.
You mean Optimus?
Yes, sorry. The death of Optimus is like a thing that, people my age or around our age, they remember that moment. Spoilers, I guess. I don't know. I've never even seen that film, but like I know about it because people were so distraught over it. So like trying to shoehorn it into this in like the first 40 minutes or something of the film was just like you're not going to channel that moment. Like you're not going to get the same reaction from people.
Your point stands, but the sad part is, Tara, this is like a full hour into the movie at this point. But there's still 90 minutes after this.
Yeah.
And the reason why I know that is because I stopped watching it and took a break at the 40-minute mark. And the 40-minute mark is before Michaela walks in and sees him with the other girl. The 40-minute mark is before that scene.
Okay, yeah. Boy, that's a long setup.
It's such a long setup. It takes so long to like start doing things. It's almost impressive how much it feels like a lot of stuff is constantly happening, and yet when you actually examine the story progression, not a lot is really progressing either. It's almost a skill in and of itself.
Almost. You're not going to get much praise from me, though.
Yeah, so the other Autobots show up and like get Sam out of Dodge, but yeah, Optimus is dead. Most of the Autobots end up back with the military, but Bumblebee and the racist twins are with Sam and co. And the Fallen, when Optimus is killed, because we do see like one quick scene of the Fallen in like space, maybe like somewhere near Saturn or something. I don't know. It's like, I assume it's near Ishbai, relatively speaking, but the Fallen like gets up, is like, oh, the last Prime is dead. Only a Prime can kill me, kind of thing. Which I actually think is a bit stupid as like a thing. Like, why only a Prime? It's just like a bloodline, effectively. Like, why could only a Prime kill you?
I can only be killed by a royal knight. I don't know.
Yeah, weird. But he comes to Earth and he like Soundwave's in this movie, but the thing people like about Soundwave, because he's probably the third most popular Decepticon, is that he's the one with the tape deck in the chest and all that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Here,
that was wasn't that the helicopter?
No. Well, maybe it was a helicopter in the cartoon, but here he's the satellite. That's all he is in this movie.
Oh, okay. No, he probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably was just the satellite, and I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Any of them.
No, he's just floating in space. He just hooks up to a satellite, and he's just there for all the intel for the bad guys, basically.
Mm.
But the Fallen does the Zod thing from Man of Steel. He's like, "We are here. This is our planet now, you filthy humans. And give us Sam Witwicky. He's of grave importance. Hand over the kid." So Sam and that feel like fugitives now because they're being looked for by everyone, and they're kind of hiding, and they're debating what to do next. There's a couple of scenes, but basically they decide to go to like the roommates like, hey, there's this other great like conspiracy guy online who talks about the aliens. We should go see him. He'll know what to do. And he's never met him in person though. He doesn't know what he looks like. And then the reveal is that this is John Turturro's character from the first movie.
He's Robot Warrior.
And
Robot Warrior.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say that there's a slight like potential good bit. I mean, I don't think any of the jokes land, but I do appreciate the idea that he still takes what he does very seriously, and he talks to Leo's like, "Oh, you're a little amateur outfit." Like, no, like I do things properly. Like, there is something potentially funny about like this guy who used to be like this high-ranking government top secret official who lost his job, but he still treats what he does with that same level of scrutiny and like prestige. You know, I can kind of.
I mean, he is a great actor, so like he's given it his all. Unfortunately, everything else going around around him or on him even is just not funny and not landing, and it's just super annoying.
I mean, there's a bunch of exposition where they're like, "Oh, the little Decepticon will tell us where we can go find one of these like ancient Autobots to tell us where we can go find this magical like device or whatever," right? And they end up going to the Smithsonian, and when they arrive, like with it, I actually looked away for a second and looked back, and I just saw John Turturro in his Sector 7 underwear, and I was like, wait, what happened? And I went back 10 seconds, And yeah, he just starts stripping down to like change into like something else outside.
They
And,
just
like,
wanted the joke of, look, butt. There's a butt on screen.
yes.
It's a man butt. There's too many butts in this movie. There's too many testicles in this movie.
Yeah, he's got a line as well. Remember how we talked about that line in the first movie when he first meets Michaela and he says, criminals are hot, right? And we talked about how weird and inappropriate it was. He's got kind of like a sequel to that line here when he first sees them again, where he looks over at her and says, oh, your little criminal girlfriend, she's so mature. And I'm like, what? Okay.
It's so weird.
It's kind of gross.
Did you enjoy seeing the Bad Boys 2 poster in the dorm room also?
I noticed it. I can't say I enjoyed it.
There's also a Cloverfield one, which I guess was just like,
that would have been
like, here, you can have this one to promote also. But
yeah, that would have been super, because Cloverfield came out like February of that year, so this is like, so when they were shooting
it's also
this
2009, right?
Yeah, so when they were shooting this, presumably in 2008, like that poster would have been like, they may have even got that poster on set before anyone seen the poster in the public yet.
Yeah. That was interesting, actually. Anyway, I brought us back in time. Let's go forward.
That's what we've devolved to, is it? There was a poster in the dorm room that was interesting. That's the level of quality that we're dealing with here.
Yep.
Oh dear. So they're going to the Smithsonian because all these symbols in Sam's head, like no one can understand them, but one of these old Transformers will. So they've got the slither of the Allspark, and the idea is to wake up one of these old jets that's a Transformer. So we get like again, like, do they have to break into the Smithsonian as if it's this big heist operation? But it all takes place in the span of like a minute, and it's just like knocking out a couple of guards, it's tasing someone in the balls.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ball jokes.
So many ball jokes. And like, this happens during the day. The Smithsonian is a museum. And I suppose maybe there's like an air, whatever they're called, where they have like, where they have stuff that's not on display for people, like just patrons of the museum. Mm-hmm. I guess, but like, I don't remember seeing people there.
Yeah, there was no one around. Especially in the hangar with all the planes, like there was no one.
I was trying to figure out the word hangar.
Oh, is that the word you were looking for?
Yeah. Air thing.
Air containment facility. So they find a plane and it's like, oh, this is the thing. The little Decepticons, like, this is the one. John Turturro has this like scanner thing that's scanning for alien DNA or some shit. I don't know what he's doing, but they use the spark to wake up this jet, but right before, so Sam's already using the spark. He's already made the connection, and then Michaela just sort of looks underneath the plane and sees a big Decepticon logo and went, "Shit, it's a Decepticon!" So they all have to duck for cover. This actually does introduce an interesting idea that if the movie had a good story, would actually be kind of cool. The idea that a Decepticon had changed sides. So this was someone who was on the bad side and changed to be good. The movie does nothing with it. We never hear why he changed sides. We never hear about like what made him change. You know, like it never goes into it. It's just, it can happen.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea. And then,
I mean, he kind of says why. He says the Decepticons were evil, and I mean, I guess he didn't know with the name Decepticon.
Well, yeah, okay, they give us that, but what I mean is,
I didn't want to live with hate all the time, so I switched sides.
I feel like if you're going to give us a character who switched sides from Decepticon to Autobot, I feel like at least give us a flashback of some of that story. We need to see those moments where he made that choice.
He was kind of a cool design too. Like he was old looking. Like I guess they can age and they can look old. I don't know. I thought that was kind of neat.
I thought it was a little bit silly he had a walking stick though.
I don't know. I mean, they're so anthropomorphized anyway. Like why
not? So the little one wheelie decides that he's not going to be a Decepticon. He didn't realize he could switch, and then decides to have sex with Megan Fox's leg for a good 30 seconds.
Yeah. And now it's just a dog. And we know what dogs do. They hump. That's just what they do.
And when Sam points out that she's letting this happen, she says, "At least he's faithful." That's your joke.
Burn. I hate this movie.
And then the Transformer here teleports them all to Egypt. I remember seeing this in the theater, and this been the moment where I'm like, wait, what's happening? What? We just
Why are we going to a new place?
we have teleportation technology now. Okay, which is so frustrating because it doesn't get enough time to be its own movie, but like there's so much to do once we get to Egypt with hiding and then looking for the key. Because it's like, so they get on a MacGuffin hunt where they need the Matrix, which is this key thing that will turn on the big device, but it's hidden because all the primes that jettisoned the Fallen and like turned on him because they realized that he was going to destroy the world, and just because they had a rule, like so they went around looking for suns to take the energy from, but if there was any planets that relied on those suns, they wouldn't do it, right? So yeah, noble, makes sense, fair enough. So they all sacrifice themselves and entomb themselves around the key to protect it, and they're having to look for that. So we get like a bit of a mummy thing where it's like, oh, when the three kings align and the sun hits the tip of the pyramid.
Yeah, why are there so many like prophecies in this?
It's so stupid. But yeah, but like there's so much runtime devoted to them hiding in Egypt, looking for where these clues are, and then getting to where the key is, finding the key, and then getting to the town where, by this point, they've called in the military and the Autobots, and they're all waiting in like a town. So there's like a big chunk of this movie that's like Sam and Michaela try to run to this town and like dodging Decepticons, and every so often it just cuts to like another random bit of combat where a Decepticon's fighting the plane or
it just becomes military propaganda again.
Yeah, and it lasts for so goddamn long. Like it really is. And then there's just more awkward humor with John Turturro and Leo because they're like best friends now or something. And
well, because clearly when they were writing it and filming it, they thought these guys are freaking hilarious. Let's team them up.
John Turturro
will love it.
He keeps saying he's like, oh, this is my moment. Betrayed by the country I loved, I am now its last hope for like for success or something. He keeps saying this speech over and over again as he's doing stuff. There's a scene where he calls someone to like try and like arrange an airstrike, and like there's all these little moments along the way of him, and it's supposed to be funny. And what is amusing actually is I missed the testicle robot stuff because I looked away for a second and missed it. Apparently, I know it's there. I mean, I saw the movie before. Like, everyone remembers the Destructicons.
It's how he's
whatever they're called.
It's how he's or are you talking about the two swinging
yes
wrecking balls? Yeah, he says I'm under the enemy scrotum on the bone.
Yeah, it's supposed to be testicles. Yes. Which and that's the other thing. So you set up. Well, I'll tell a lie. You don't set it up at all. Take that back. I don't want to say things that I don't mean. They do not set this up, but they show a series of like 5 or 6 Decepticons, which I think are called Constructicons, who come together.
That's kind of nice. They build things.
They come together like a Megazord, right? To create. I think it's called Devastator. I think they called it, but
it's designed to eat the sun.
Yeah.
To get all the energy from the sun.
But you have this mammoth thing forming out of all these different parts, and I'm like, this should be the main villain. This should be like all the Autobots teaming up to take on this super Decepticon. And instead it's like the side thing that's like, this is the two racist robots and John Turturro and the roommate. They're dealing with the big super Megazord Decepticon.
Yeah, it's like a sandworm like coming out too. It's just like, it's literally eating the world. And
it's so
so they can eat the sun.
And it's so massive that it's like hulking over the whole time, and it's like, I'm like, if you told me before I saw this movie, there's going to be like a Megazord style transformer that all like, forms this big one, like 5 of them make this big Decepticon, I'd be like, oh, that sounds awesome. It sounds like it'll be a big tough fight. It sounds like a big threat that they'll have to overcome.
It sounds like we're going to get like a kaiju thing or something. Yeah.
And then it's just this side thing that doesn't have even that much importance to any of the actual conflict, because all of it's just about the Fallen. And to Megatron to an extent, but Megatron's more the lackey in this movie to the Fallen.
Yeah.
So, but all of it's about Sam getting to Optimus so he can use the Matrix dust to wake him up. Which, by the way, we have to... Mercifully, we didn't get a lot of the parents after the college stuff early on, but there is a scene that it cuts to them where the Decepticons decide to kidnap Sam's parents.
Well, we got to bring them back because they're hilarious.
we got to kidnap Sam's parents, which...
Can you imagine having Sam's parents, the roommate, and John Turturro all in the same place? This movie is wacky.
Making me want some anthrax.
Oh, boy. Too bad I've been... Too bad I have all those vaccines for anthrax.
Yeah, so, like... And it's not even like it's that well thought out a plan. They just kind of like dump the parents in the middle of this fight as if it's meant to distract Sam, but it never really accomplishes anything, so I'm not even sure. But it is quite funny to think about, like, so where were they being held, like, this, like, several hours or a day or whatever it's been since they got kidnapped in Paris? Were they just, like, in, like, a dark box somewhere until it was time to, like, throw them into the desert?
I guess. I mean, if they're in a car... then that car could have been a Decepticon or something. I don't know. Just hanging out in an airplane with those uncomfortable seats for way too many hours. That would have been real punishment.
Yeah, so we get an emotional thing, which it tries to do a thing where it's like, oh, his dad wasn't ready to admit that he was like sad letting his son go off to like live his life. So here he's like, son, you have to come with me, and Sam's like, no, I have to stay in the fight, but you go with Bumblebee, he'll keep you safe. And he's like, you have to let him go, you let your son go. And I'm like, I don't like, I see why you think this is a payoff to those early scenes, but
it's not working at all.
But no, it does not work.
Even the mom who was crying in the beginning is like, you gotta let him go, he's a grown-up now. Like, whatever. It's
just so unearned. Like, they did the bare minimum, and then they just tried to pay it off with really on the nose pointing out how it connects back. Like, there's no subtext here. They're just yelling at you. Remember at the start of the movie when it was all about letting him go off to be a man?
Just hammering you in the brain.
So they're running towards Optimus. There's constant cutaways to the military guys talking and doing military jargon. Are you okay, Tara? You look a bit...
No, I'm just so wore out from watching this and talking about it.
Yeah, the military guys, they're constantly just having little moments of jokes or hoorah shit and jargon. At one point it cuts to the general guy, played by Marshauer, who actually, I just noticed his name in the movie is General Marshauer. They gave him his real name. Holy shit.
Interesting.
Alright. But he, like... He walks into the room at one point at the command center. He's like, is there any MB1s on the blah blah? And he just like spits out like a bunch of jargon that makes no sense. And it's like, okay, they love the acronyms. They really do. They really do.
Yeah. I mean, it is military jargon. So, I mean, they use acronyms for everything. Because it's cool, you know.
Makes them sound important.
You got to talk in code, you know. Join up and then you can understand what they're really talking about. Don't join. Do not join the military.
Bunch of lame ass shit is what it is. So Sam gets bombarded with some explosives while he's running to Optimus and seemingly dies, right? You know, Megan Fox slipped in an F-bomb here, which kind of went unnoticed. Even though they're allowed...
I didn't even notice.
They're allowed one F-bomb in a PG-13, but this one's kind of sneaky. She says effing do something. And I think it's because the ringing of, like, you know, like the explosions still sort of playing. It's like really muffled, so you don't quite... But it is there if you want to hear it. But Sam goes to robot heaven?
I guess because he touched the Allspark?
He goes to robot heaven where the ancient primes are like, you have the ability to be a great leader, you have shown courage, you are the chosen one, Sam Witwicky. The Matrix is...
They have really put their faith in the wrong guy.
The Matrix isn't like acquired, it is like earned, which makes no sense.
Why?
No, but like, Tara, just even if you shut up for a second. Even if you accept it at face value that that's how this works, is that you earn it by proving yourself, it makes no sense, because in a minute's time after he uses it on Optimus, the Fallen just runs up and grabs it and goes, haha, my Matrix, and flies off with it. He's not earned it. Surely if it should disintegrate again if that's how it works. No?
I guess. I don't know.
He just runs up and steals it.
It's stupid. It's so stupid.
Aye, so the old
But why would it even have that? Why would it have some sort of like you have to prove your might, and then if the Matrix accepts you, then you can use it. Like, and yeah, you're right. It should be consistent. Like, okay, so that should be the same. Is it just for humans that they have to do that? But like, I don't know. It's so dumb. It's just the dumbest. I hate this movie.
So, the old plane shows up with the walking stick, and he does a little bit of badassery, but he gets knocked down. He does not get back up again. He ain't ever going to live you down. But he...
Thank you for trying to bring some levity.
You're welcome.
I need it.
But he's like, oh yeah, use the Matrix, and then when Optimus is sort of woken up, but he's not quite at strength yet, the old one's like, take my parts, become Super Optimus Prime, and defeat these enemies. So we get this scene where like all his parts are flying onto Optimus. So Optimus is supercharged, and he's got his like jetpack now from him. So he's like, let's roll, and he flies off and basically, kicks the shit out of the Fallen, and also injures Megatron a bit. And that's basically it. Like, there's not really like
the Sandworm Decepticon evil Sun Eater thing gets destroyed because of our new friends, our new favorite characters. Also,
yeah, the racist robots. Yeah. It's actually kind of remarkable how little. Like, I think Bumblebee gets one moment here where he swoops in and saves them when the parents are around, and it's like, oh, he won a fight, great, good for him. But none of the other Autobots really get any chance to shine or have a moment or remember. Like,
or even recognizable.
Like Ironhide and Ratchet, like I noticed and recognized because at least they're from the last one. But if they weren't in the last one, I would never like notice them in this. I would never like remember them. You know, so.
Did Kelsey Grammer do a voice of one of them?
No, I think he's in one of the later ones.
Maybe I just heard his voice in a preview or something.
He's in. I don't know. I don't even know which one. Maybe it's the next one. Maybe it's the fifth one. I don't know. I can check if you want.
No. We'll talk about it in a couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, when the time comes,
I just thought maybe he was in this one and I didn't notice.
No, because I want to say he's just in it though. I don't think he's just a voice. I think you see him, like he's in the movie he's in.
I thought he played one of the Autobots.
Maybe he does both. Maybe he pulls double duty. But he, yeah. So that's that. Optimus and Sam stand like side by side, like they're equals on the aircraft carrier at the end. And Optimus makes another speech about facing the future together.
On an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
So it's the Transformers, it's Sam Witwicky, and it's the American military.
And
ooh, yeah.
Yeah, like cue Linkin Park, it's time to end this miserable experience. Well, barring a couple of snippets in the credits of like him getting back to college and
Ray Wilson accepting him, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, and Megan Fox like drops him off on her bike or something. Yeah, I don't know. So, a couple of little things. I can't emphasize just how much this movie is. It's like it's got ADD. It's just constantly firing words at you and action at you, and it's
so upsetting to watch. It is. It's like your brain wants to reject it, like everything. And it's like anytime there's something that's slightly cool, it's immediately followed by something you hate so much more than the cool thing.
Or more accurately, 10 things you hate.
Yeah, and it just reminds you, like, nope, we're not getting anything cool.
No, we're not.
Like,
we're
it
not
thinks it's cool. It thinks it's very cool.
Oh yeah, it thinks it's the coolest thing that's ever happened. I mean, there's so many little moments. Obviously, we can't talk about all of them, but like when they're in Egypt and they're driving somewhere, like they're going to like a checkpoint, and like there's a joke that the guy running the checkpoint is like 4'5". He's like a really small man, and so that's like a joke in and of itself. And then the second joke is that as soon as John Turturro says that they're from New York, he's like, New York, I love New York, on you go. It just like passes like, what? I don't understand. And then John Turturro yells something
people
like,
love him because people love America.
Yeah, John Turturro ends the scene by yelling over to him, "You little the guy who runs my falafel stand. I knew I recognized you from somewhere." And I'm like, that just feels a bit racist, to be honest. if
I
I'm
hope
being
it wasn't
honest,
improvised.
it's just everything like in these Michael Bay Transformers movies, like the humor is so juvenile and just comes from this really like there's a very specific point of view that it's coming from, and it's a point of view that doesn't seem to recognize any other points of view. It's all like anyone who doesn't speak with an American accent's got a funny accent. Anyone who isn't like part of this world is weird and different. I don't know. It's kind of soul crushing to watch, and this is definitely worse than the first one. Like the first one, obviously, we had numerous problems with, and everything that's wrong in this one was also, you know, less or so, but most of it had its origins in the last one. Like that, this has kind of blossomed out of everything that was already wrong, but this like is even worse. And there's no excuse for the way it's like shot and how quick like it's edited and everything that's in it, and how bad the pacing is, because that's like filmmaking stuff. That's standard filmmaking. Like I don't know why Michael Bay is just so bad at it now. It's weird. Like he was never great, but like he was better than this.
I mean, honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen like The Rock, which is a movie I remember I enjoyed watching, but you know, I was a kid when that came out, so I don't know if I'll enjoy it if I revisit it. And maybe because it's got Nick Cage in it and Ed Harris and Sean Connery, so and it, you know, sometimes he films action well. I think there was just a turn where he's like, I'm going to make everything about the military, and I'm going to make everything about American exceptionalism. I'm going to make everything super spinny and flashy and sweaty, and everyone's going to love it. And I don't know. I don't know if The Rock is before or after that turn, but it's I'm almost afraid because I kind of want to like one movie of his.
The Rock's his second movie, so it was quite a bad.
He did Broken Arrow too, right? That was his first.
No, that wasn't him.
Oh, okay.
No, his first movie was Bad Boys, and then.
Oh, I've never actually seen the Bad Boys movie. I was just looking up what I forgot what we rated Transformers, or what at least what I rated it. It looks like we have the same one though, according to Letterboxd.
Yeah, it's.
We gave it a 5 or something around that.
Yeah. I'm baffled by just how nonsensical this is. It really is quite a special achievement.
It really is. I mean, because like I said before, I genuinely enjoyed the first Transformers when it came out, and I saw it a couple of times in theaters. And when this one came out, I was dating somebody, and we went and saw it together. We were both in the military still, and I left that, you know, pretty checked out after the first maybe like 40 minutes or so. And I remember like he really liked it, and I was just so baffled by that, like, because that was like legit the worst movie I had seen in theaters. And I know I had seen Requiem also in theaters. Alien vs. Predator Requiem. I don't know if it was at this time or slightly after, but I was so like I really had a crisis of like, can I keep dating this person? Because not only that, like it ruined a lot of things. Like it ruined my relationship. Maybe, I don't remember. There's probably a lot of things going on, but also like it ruined the first movie, because all of a sudden the first movie is like this is just the first movie amplified. And I saw the Matrix Code, and I was like, oh, I can't enjoy that first movie anymore, because I know where it goes, and I know that this is just a heightened version of that film, and now I hate it. Now I hate the sexism, I hate the racism and I hate the American exceptionalism that's just so obvious in it now. That you know, I glossed over the first time because I thought it was a cool new action movie with neat special effects.
I think us watching it again, you know, a couple of months ago when we started doing these, you know, I think you watch it now over a decade after the fact. I mean, 15 years really after the fact, and you can look at it now with some perspective, and I think all those problems with it are really pronounced, and it's like,
you know,
they're
definitely there. Yeah.
And I was 18 when it came out, so part of it may be an age thing for me, where like I liked the first one more at the time because I was just, you know, 18's technically adult, but it's not really. Like you're still kind of maturing and evolving your brain and whatnot. And I think as far as like my movie taste goes, I think there is definitely an evolution for me from my teen years, where I was getting into a lot of good movies and I was seeking out a lot of classics and stuff, but I still think I liked a lot of dumb stuff too. And I think that by the time I get to my mid-20s, like, I was more fully formed of, like, okay, I can kind of, like, I know what I love now, I know why I love the things I love, good or bad. You know, I like some dumb movies, like everyone should and does, but
Yep.
well documented, in fact, in your case. So, this is, like,
I have a
embarrassing.
Mitchell poster right here.
Yeah, I can't really give it any other word other than just kind of embarrassing and
It really
obnoxious.
is, yeah.
Yeah, it's obnoxious is the best word I can describe this franchise with, and I feel like, you know, we're going to come back for the third one, and I think the third one's not quite as bad as this.
It's just as long though, right?
Oh yeah, I think they're all this long now.
Ugh.
Get used to the 2.5 hour runtime, because I don't think we're getting away from it.
Doesn't Age of Extinction have like over 3 hours or something? Am I crazy?
I don't think it was over 3 hours. I mean, I'll have a quick. So Dark of the Moon, which is next, not Dark Side of the Moon, just Dark of the Moon, which always sounded weird. 2 hours 34 minutes on that bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
Transformers: Age of Extinction, which is the fourth one, 2 hours 45 minutes. So
What does it think it is? Until the end of the world or something?
And then The Last Night, which is the fifth one,
Oh, I forgot about that one.
2 hours and 34 minutes. So back down to just a slim 2.5 hours.
You're right, though. They're all about the same.
Yeah.
Age of Extinction being the longest, but still not that far from the others.
Yeah, I don't know if we've got a
Probably.
runtime yet for the new one. We probably don't. Nah. But, you know, at least the new one's going to have the more G1 style designs from Bumblebee, which weren't better from a visual perspective, at least. So
I guess.
yeah, I think RC's in the new one. I think there's a better version of or I say better. I shouldn't say that word because I don't know yet, but there looks to be a more. There seems to be a more authentic looking attempt to do a version of RC in the new one. I'll phrase it that way, based on the trailer.
Is it Michael Bay still?
No, he's not directing it now.
Yeah, it's someone else. Okay.
I mean, I can tell you who it is if I go check.
Because I didn't love Bumblebee, but it's probably just because the stank of Transformers 2.
But I mean, honestly, it's definitely better than it's better than the first one. It's better than the other five. Like, at the very least, it gives you a more
It's better than the two that I've seen.
It's better, you know. It gives you a more likable main character in Haley Steinfeld. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it is definitely better. So the director of Rise of the Beast is Stephen Capel Jr., who I'll click on because I don't expect that either of us know who that is. He did Creed 2.
I like Creed 2. I thought it was directed really well too.
All of a sudden Tara's like, yeah, new Transformers.
No. No.
From the man behind Creed 2.
But that does fill me with like, at least maybe I won't hate my movie watching experience because I have to go see it in theaters.
Maybe.
Blah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're drifting a little bit. We should rate Revenge of the Fallen. It is a steaming big pile of shit. There's not really many other ways to look
Well,
at
I
it.
mean, what are the things that we praised? We praised the music. Like the score is good.
Music.
The Linkin Park song is good.
Well, the music's good with the notable caveat that because it's shifting scenes so quick, sometimes the music has to shift too quick as
Yes.
well. But it's not really the composer's fault. He's just scoring to the movie. But
Yeah, but the bum,
that.
bum, 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 bum,
Optimus-
bum, 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 bum. I mean, that's an okay thing.
yeah, Optimus has a couple of individually fun moments. You know, coming out the plane at the start.
We
Maybe
got Tony Todd.
yeah.
Always a plus. We got Optimus voiced by the actor who played him. I can't remember his name. Always good.
Peter Cullen.
He's just got a great.
Or Mullen. I always get this mistake. It's either Mullen or Cullen, but
I remember, but there's like a couple of shots that were cool.
a couple 2 hours and 30 minutes, and it's a couple of good shots.
This is legit one of the worst movie experiences that I've had at a theater, and like rewatching it, like I just it's so like it is like experiencing a hangover when you watch it. Like things are too loud, too bright, too flashy, too sweaty, too hot. Like it's just Everything is awful.
There's a couple
it's
of
nauseating.
There's a couple of scenes where, like, there's one with Megatron and Starscream. They're just having a conversation on top of a building, and there's a scene with like some of the good characters talking as well in the desert, and like you can have one flashy shot or two in your conversation scene, but this just constantly keeps having a spinning camera. It's not one shot; it cuts between multiple shots, but it does it multiple times, and to a point where I'm like, maybe just slowing down and having a still shot would actually make these robots feel more real, because we're not like constantly like whipping around at this ridiculous speed.
This 360 thing with the heads whipping around and trying to get your action pose, and every single shot is ridiculous. I legit hate this film. I mean, I know I've said it, but like I really mean it. Like, this movie is a horrible thing to sit through, and I honestly, like, I'm just gonna rate it a 1. Like, I hate this film.
Oh, that's bold. Obviously it's terrible, right? And Sam's a horrible character. Michaela's better, but obviously they're doing nothing with her. And it's so funny that by the end of this movie they're like, oh, we love each other, yeah. When obviously real life things take her out of the next movie, and they just like, there's like one really like shitty line that says, that old girlfriend was a bitch. Like, there's a line like that in the next one.
Oh, really? That's so disgusting.
And it's just Michael Bay just thrown in a little...
I'm going to rate the third one a 1 too while I'm at it. I've not watched it.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go... I don't think I can go with a straight 1 because...
Okay. Honestly, maybe 1 is unfair. I'll, but I'm not going higher than 3.
Yeah.
I'll just 3. I'm going to change it to 3 right now.
3? Okay. I think 3 may be a bit too high, but I don't think I can go as low as a 1, just because a 1's what I give something where like the sound mixing is like bad, right? 1's a Birdemic, right? I know you're going to be mad that I said that, but
no, Birdemic's a 10.
But 1's like a Birdemic where they just don't know how to operate their filming equipment, or it's so like, at the very least there's production value in this. So I think like I'm tempted to scrape it up to a 2, but maybe more fair would be 1.5. So I think I'm going
back down to a 1.
I'm going to go with a 1.5. I think that's where I'm going to land. You're like, I can't be double what Peter's score is. I have to.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm going back. Edit the part out where I say is maybe a 3.
Never.
I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking to my Megatrons, and I'm going with the 1.
You Megatrons. Yeah.
I always knew he was a gun. Like he's not in these movies, obviously, but.
Well, he wasn't always like he was a plane in a tank. Just as often as he was ever a gun in the cartoon, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the toy that my brother had.
Yeah.
Was the gun.
Well, I think that's why he had multiple forms, because that way you can sell 3 different toys. One that switches into a plane, one that switches into...
Yeah, he's just weapons of war.
Yeah. Yeah. 1.5. That's... I can't... Like, maybe a 2 at a stretch, but like... Listen to us, we're debating between a 1, a 1.5, and a 2.
This movie's terrible.
That's where we are with this.
I think that's the lowest I've ever given anything on the show.
It might
like
be.
The almost 200 episodes we've done, plus all the bonus movies.
And those bonus movies are typically pretty, rough. Like, they're intentionally,
Well, that's what we pick for bonus. We pick the forgotten films.
But most of those bonus movies, I would say, are more enjoyable to watch, no matter how bad they are, versus this.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas this was just a chore. Like, I was just, like I say, once they get...
Space Mutiny was so much fun.
Once they get to the desert, like, a lot of it just blurs together. It's so hard to really separate out a lot of what that desert stuff was. And it's like a good 45 minutes at the end of the movie.
Oh, boy.
It's so rough.
It's hard to tell. Everybody's been sweating from, like, the opening scene, so...
They should bring in The Rock, because I watched that Fast 5 for Collector's Cut just yesterday. So this is a little tease for next month on Collector's Cut. But The Rock is just sweating the entire movie, which is a very wrestler thing to do, because they always douse themselves in water before they go. But He's just like glistening. It's because he's bald as well, but he's just glistening the entire time, like he's ready to fight. It's
it's like water and oil mixture.
Yeah. Oh dear. So there you go. We'll be back next time for Alien Day with our next Alien movie, which is Alien Resurrection. So look forward to that.
Oh, thank God.
But we'll be back with the next Transformers the week after that. So
No.
So strap in. So as mentioned, we do have bonus episodes on Patreon at the $3 tier on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You'll get a bonus episode every month, usually with some sort of B movie. We did Space Mutiny most recently. We got Species 3 is the next one we're doing, probably not too long after this goes up, or even probably not too long after this goes up. At the $5 tier,
probably.
Yeah, the $5 tier gets you access to another monthly show called the Ace Meltdown, where we just talk about the different movies we've been watching of all kinds throughout the month, and we do a little sci-fi quiz for each other. So you can check out that, and of course there's bonus stuff for the other shows we do. So, you know, Collector's Cut, which I'm on. For example, we're doing, you know, the first 5 Fast and the Furious movies over the month of May. The bonus episode for that month is some biker movie called Biker Boys. So if that sounds like an entertaining time, you can do that. So, and then
I'm familiar with that film.
Yeah. And then Collector's Cut Extra Reels at the $5 tier is where we watch really bad, but maybe so bad they're good movies, which Tara here actually picks all the movies for.
I'm a curator, yeah.
So you can thank her in May for Christian Mingle as the Extra Reels movie.
I can't believe you went for that one.
But in April, you can check out what we thought of Gone with the Pope, which is its own wild ride. So there you go. Yeah, go support us on Patreon if you want some
I feel
goodies.
like I should get a credit for those shows. Like, you should put me in the producer or something. Executive producer.
Nah, surely it'd be like a different title. It'd be like based on a story by Tara. Content
I'm sure I told you
curator.
a story about watching these movies.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And probably on Meltdown.
Yeah, probably on Meltdown. And one day I'm sure we'll do some Neil Breen on there and other things. So.
Well, not the sci-fi ones. Those are for us.
Of course.
And don't worry, they'll be on the main channel.
No, another bonus episode. Shut up.
No. Breen only makes masterpieces, so.
Okay, I think that's about us. That's been Revenge of the Fallen. What more is there to possibly say? So next week, Alien Resurrection on Alien Day. Week after, Transformers: Dark of the Moon with Leonard Nimoy.
Oh boy.
So thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff helps us out a lot as well, of course. So do all that. Keep watching science fiction and computer at Salsa.